But yeah, a special, he didn't qualify for it, and he could have, I guess technically he could have gone through the open bracket, but I think he was vocal on either social media or his own stream. He said that he wasn't going to go to the open bracket because he felt like it was too brutal, like it was just too unforgiving. The likelihood of him actually even making it out of the open bracket was pretty low, so it just wouldn't be worth it for him. Which is understandable. Like we were casting the open bracket last night here on the CranKy Ducklings, and so many big names got knocked out in the first round. Like it was so heartbreaking to see players like Showtime, players like Hero. They got knocked out in the open bracket. They're already out of the tournament, and they barely make any money as a result. Like it's crazy. It's crazy how competitive, or just like how, oh my god, how unforgiving the format is for ESL Masters Summer this season. It's very, very brutal, very brutal. But here we go. We are now diving into our next series, into our first semifinals match, and spawning in the top right hand corner of Royal Blood, we have the American Terran player representing Matcherino Esports. It is Future. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing the Kwangdong Freaks, and maybe even a blank clan tag. It's possible, as the Freaks actually don't have an in-game clan tag. A lot of the Korean teams don't. I'm shaking my head. It is soO. Only people really missing, I mean, kind of, like, we're missing quite a lot of players from some of the other regions. If you maybe are unawares, the Chinese players could not, even though they qualified for the event, they couldn't make it to the event because they weren't able to get visas in time. So specifically Oliveira and Coffee, even though they qualified and they got invites and flights and all that stuff to the event, they couldn't get visas in time, so they actually were not able to go to ESL Masters Summer, which again is a shame. ESL have released a statement recently about it. They've accepted the blame for it. Like it was on them for not being able to contact or send out the letters in time and help things like process and all that stuff. Like it is a shame. It is a really big shame that Oliveira won't be there. He's the reigning world champion. Like it's so sad. But ESL, they'll try to make up for that in whatever way they can, and the event itself is still going to be a good one nonetheless. Even if we don't have Oliveira, I'm sure it'll still be amazing. As we're getting into our game, the first Reaper does zoom across the map and is going to be dancing here with the Lings. Nothing too crazy, just a hatch gas pull at a soO. Likewise, Future going for a Rax expand. His Reaper just being a little bit annoying in between the bases, but not really able to do too much else, as he does get eyes on the third, but isn't able to delay it. Don't think you can blame it all on ESL. Yeah, I mean, again, like ESL, they said they kind of explained the situation themselves, and they themselves say that like moving forward, they're going to be sending out the letters ahead of time, making sure that they're more on top of that thing, so that they can actually get the process of the players getting the visas as quickly as possible. So, I mean, ESL moving forward, they are going to be changing their approach. Just to like accommodate for that sort of thing. It is a shame that it's happening after the fact and Oliveira has to suffer a little bit for it. Again, it's a shame, but we gotta move on from here, right? Like, yeah. It is what it is. As behind this, oh no, what have I gotten myself into? We do have some factories on the way. We do have 2 more factories on the way here for Future, so we are going to be getting into mech. I wasn't quite expecting this. I was looking forward to like some bio play, maybe even an 8 racks coming out from Future, but no, we are going to be committing into mech instead. Oh boy, let's go. Let's go, Poppy, let's go. As we are going to be getting into the battle mech composition. Cyclones, Hellions coming out here from Future. Oh boy. You do love to see it. Of course, this is a more active style of mech, and with this you can kind of be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more assertive, vie for map control, and threaten the bases of soO. We'll see if soO is familiar with this. Again, we were talking about how soO isn't as active as he used to be. I wonder if he has been playing, or if he is well practiced against this more Ferrari mech style composition, especially with the new kind of Banshees coming into play. That's not what we're seeing here. We're not seeing the Banshee mech, which is a bit of a shame, but I would like to see it. soO just gets eyes on the third base. I believe soO hasn't made it into the main. Yep, he hasn't been able to make it into the main base of the natural, so he has very limited scouting information. He hasn't seen the Cyclones yet. He hasn't seen the additional Hellions, so there hasn't been too much to really tip him off. As a result, he's just droning, working on his lair on time. He's got his Baneling Nest. Evo chambers are on the way. He is reacting as if he's up against a bio player, and again, shouldn't really change his plans here until he's able to get some more secure information of what is going on. As the Hellions do clean up a couple of these tumors. And here we go with the revelation of the Cyclones. Now soO is fully aware of what is going on. We already have a decent Ling army here. The Queens are on the front lines as well. A lot of tumors are going to be going down, and we do get a lock-on on two of those Queens. soO does immediately pull back. He does break said lock-ons. He is able to hold on without losing too much. Again, soO very quick to pull away those Queens. He is running out of transfuse energy, though. We only have a couple left. Ooh, and one Queen does go down, and this is where the snowball effect comes into play. Ooh, 1, 2, 3 Queens, 4 Queens, ay. But as that's been going on, we do have the surround set up here from soO. He does come in from behind. He gets on top of some of these Cyclones. Only some. Oh, we're gonna lose every Queen, aren't we? Yeah. Ay. 5 Queens in total have fallen. Future has to be careful not to overextend. If he does go too far into creep, he is going to get surrounded by the reinforcements as the Lings do pop out in time. Behind this, Future getting his third base up and running. Fourth base on the way behind this. And soO is going to be reacting with Ling, Bane, Hydra, which can do quite well against Battle Mech. Even gets an additional Cyclone towards the end. Now, this is a composition that has been quite trendy as of late over the past couple of months for Zerg players to go Ling, Bane, Hydra, Viper specifically against this battle mech style. It can trade surprisingly well, especially once the Vipers get introduced. Without them, this is a bit of a frail army, so soO has to be very careful with how he maneuvers, especially against these Blue Flame Hellions. Cannot allow himself to be caught out of position. The upgrades are still looking to kick in. soO getting his fourth base up and running as well. This is the most concerning thing. soO's actually behind heavily economically. He's only got 70 workers right now. And up until this point, he was on 60 drones as well. soO was just spending so much lava replacing his Lings and his Banelings that he has been struggling to keep up with that worker count. Speaking of, more Ling Bane gets shaved off. soO is getting this fourth base up and running, but his creep is almost non-existent. Like, because of so many Queens going down, because of how active Future has been, soO has just very little map presence whatsoever. He's barely holding on to his current bases. And thankfully, he's in position here at his fort, so he should be able to keep this up and running. We get a couple more lock-ons coming out, more Hydras going down. Banelings do finish morphing in, and we do have Infestors on the way. No Pathogen Glands, so the Infestors, they do have to wait a little bit here to really come into play. Bungles will help in shutting down this army, locking down this army. The problem is that Future is transitioning. this is typically how you play out this mech style. You go battle mech initially as, oh, he takes a couple of Baileys to the face, but he gets a lot of lock-ons on these Hydras. You go battle mech initially, and then while you have map control, while you secure these bases, you transition into a more turtle mech style. Tank production is now commencing here. We are kind of shifting gears in the army. And we've got Medivacs. Okay. All right. Okay, we're back in Heart of the Swarm. Hellbat drops are going to be coming out here from Future. You love to see it. With those Hellbat drops, we can dive on top of those Hydras and even Ling Bane as well to help kind of disrupt the overall army composition of soO and the engagement. We're making actually a lot of Medivacs here. Jesus. Okay. Fair enough. It's been a while since we've seen this, but I appreciate it. A blast from the past. This used to be very meta back in Heart of the Swarm. Back when Hellbats were broken. Jesus, innovation made a GSL run off of purely this. But here we go. We have the army laying siege on the left-hand side. Going to be forcing soO to split up his attention. The Infestors are getting ready for the fungal over the rocks, and they do connect. Ooh, the chain fungals are real. So many of these cyclones do go down, and that is a hefty loss for Future. Oof. Another fungal as well on these Medivacs. The investment here just wasn't worth it, and for Future to lose all of his cyclones like that, that is disastrous. His army supply plummets. He was looking to snowball, and he almost did. He almost snowballed out of control, but alas. He won't have as much of a robust army in front of this tank line, but the tank line itself is looking still quite powerful. Got a lot of tanks getting involved. Basically cutting soO off from his fourth base. As Future creates a wedge here with his tanks. The Hellbats, they do dive into that mineral line. Going to be able to shut them down. Meanwhile, soO, he knows that he cannot engage with this army. He has to bypass it entirely, and he goes across the map. Future is well aware of this, and he's going to be able to set up defensively back at home. We have Hellions, we have tanks. soO backs off. He cannot engage with this army either, and he will be losing his fourth. And soO's in a lot of trouble. He is in a lot of trouble right now. He's barely mining off of his 3 bases. He's mining off of 3 bases right now. His 3rd base is now under threat as well. Future is slowly leapfrogging forward, and soO is just being choked out. He cannot push in. He cannot engage. He's got Corruptors on the way. He's got a Greater Spire on the way for Broodlords, but I think this is just a little bit too ambitious. Taking up towards Broodlords was such a greedy move here from soO. Oof. Yeah, the tanks just slowly leapfrogging forward, and soO just being backing off into a corner. 5 Broodlords are on the way. There is no anti-air here, so once the Broodlords do morph in, soO can clean this up, but he's lost too much. Every Hydra went down. GG gets called. The Broodlords will not finish, and Future takes game number 1. GG. A really strong performance there out of Future. There was a moment where soO had a little bit of momentum when he was able to connect with the fungal and clean up the cyclones. That was a good moment for soO. But if you remember, we were smudging a little bit before that, how soO took a really long time to get more than 60 workers. He was stuck at a 61 drone count for far too long. He was never able to fully get his 4th base up and running, let alone a 5th base as well. So yeah, Future was doing just a great job at just maintaining map control with his army, clearing creep, and a lot of that did come down to the fact that he killed 5 queens at the start of the game. 5 queens. That's a lot of queens. They were not rebuilt. They were not rebuilt. Oh boy. soO was just stuck at home the entire game. And with that, we're now going to be getting into game number 2. Boy. It's also one of those things where the Infestors they weren't ideal either. The Infestors helped with the battle mech, but if you remember, even as the Fungals were going off and even as soO was cleaning up the Cyclones, like, we had stopped Cyclone production anyway. You know, we were going into tanks, so the Infestors just didn't really have too much more uses outside of fungling and locking down the more mobile army, which was now a stationary army. Oh boy. So a rough turn of events there from our Zerg player, but spawning in the top left-hand corner of Gress Farm, we have the American Terran leading this series 1-0, representing Maturino Esports. It is Future. The future is here. The future is Terran, and spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the returning Zerg player, the Kong himself, representing the Kwangdong Freaks. It is soO. Having a rough time against that battle mech. Again, I don't know how familiar soO is with that. I mean, obviously he played against it back in his heyday when he was a more active player, but after returning from the military, I don't know how much practice soO has at the moment. I don't know how in form he really is. We have seen him every now and then in ESL Open Cup Asias, faring off against Protoss players and more standard bio play as well. But there aren't that many Koreans that do incorporate mech into their play. It's like Gumiho and Gumiho, like it's just Gumiho really, special every now and then as well, but it's not really too common of a thing, too common of a composition. So we'll see how soO is able to adapt on the fly here. See if he's able to keep up with his opponent. Again, just as a reminder to last game, soO, he actually didn't realize that it was Battle Mech until the Cyclone showed up. Remember, soO wasn't able to get a scout in the main. He was never able to scout the natural. He was only seeing a handful of Hellions up until the moment when Future revealed his hand and went for that big push in between the bases with his Hellions, with his Cyclones. It's kind of a lot that really played into that game. Oh, meanwhile, shout out to a Terran fan in the chat. The Fantasy TY fan even. There was a post by Maturino where they were talking about getting Future to Korea. Oh, that's really cool. That is really cool. Is Future in Korea currently? I am not certain. The fact that he's playing in KSL is maybe a sign. I was mentioning earlier in the tournament how I was surprised to see Future. Like, Future, I believe this is his first KSL, and if there's a trend of things, then maybe that will confirm it. I mean, we can actually ask Future as well after this series if he wins. If he loses, I don't really want to message him. I don't want to. I don't want to, like, you know, typically players want to be left alone, especially after a loss, so I probably won't message him if he does lose. But if he wins, we'll slip into some DMs and yeah, we'll ask if he's in Korea right now, or if he plans to go to Korea. Definitely something worth figuring out. Shout out to Disrespect in the chat, saying that apparently he is there. He got there 3 days ago. Thank you. Do appreciate it. Gracias. Thank you for the information. As soO does bypass the Hellions and the Reapers, and he does get into the mineral line as well. 4 SCVs going to be going down a good amount of damage. Can he get a 5th? He will get a 5th SCV. Slips into the main, gets a scout as well. Confirms the 1-1-1 opener, but across the map, Future is looking to redeem himself, looking to deal some counter damage. He gets a couple of drones, but nowhere near as many as he did lose. Oh, and that is a rough start, especially because we're going for a 1-1-1 Liberator opener. Like, ideally, we want the Liberator and the Hellions to kind of attack in multiple locations and pull apart the attention of soO, but we already lost a couple of Hellions. Like, we're already losing. We're losing a lot of the winds. The wind is being kind of taken out of the sails here for Future before he's really able to set off. So, just have to be careful here. Has to preserve those Hellions wherever he can. As he moves out once again, the Lings go for another counterattack. We get 2 of those Marines. Only 2 Marines this time, or maybe a Hellion as well. Up, up. Oof. As we dip into the main base for a second time, confirming, of course, that Stim is on the way. There's no add-on swap either, no third base. Thrown down for the time being. As Future, the pressure's on him to do some counter damage, and every single Hellion's going to be going down. All in all, 5 drones for 5 drones, so an even loss count when it comes to the workers, but Future does throw away a lot of his Hellions. He does throw away a lot of his map control, and I don't think that was quite worth it. Oh no! No! The wall's on a wall! Oh my god, the CC a little bit misplaced. Doesn't wall off here the natural. The Lings, they do flood in. Once again, they take down another Hellion. More SCVs are going down across the map. Liberator doing what it can to recover. To reciprocate the damage. 4 drones go down. Not bad for 1 Liberator, to be honest. But we did throw down a Roach Warren. The Roaches have arrived. They're not allowing this third base to finish up, and Future's in a lot of trouble, Papi. He's in a lot of trouble. The depot will fall. We get a cancel on the third TC. Boys are being pulled, and even if these Roaches get cleaned up, this is well worth it for soO. Across the map, Liberator also does go down. And soO is taking all of his gases. He's going for that lair. Looking to get into 1-1 Roach. And yeah, Future, he's been having a really hard time getting a handle on this game, on game number 2. Despite how dominant he looked in game 1. He's basically being forced into an all-in. There is no third TC. It was cancelled earlier and it was not rebuilt. He's got 3 Raxes in the main. He could throw down another 2 and just go for a 2-base all-in. Not going to be ideal here, especially pushing into a massive Roach Ravager army, but Future, he's got to do what he's got to do, you know? It's what else can he do from this position? Now, pulling the boys isn't the worst thing against a Roach army, to be fair. It's awful against Banelings, but against Roaches it can work. Future going to be hunting down this Overlord. 1-1 on the horizon here for Future. Keeping my eye on the minimap. I'm keeping my eye on these SCVs. Are they going to be pulled? As yeah, Future, he's just looking for any kind of stray Overlords, any kind of scouting units here to just pick away and to keep soO in the dark. As soO is working on 1-1, he's just looking to rebuild and build up a Roach Ravager army even. There it is. We were talking about it. Against Roaches, this isn't a bad move. The boys are being pulled. The boys have arrived, and Future is all in. Let's go, Papi. Let's go. It's really the only thing we can do, as the tanks are looking to siege up there. Gonna be piled down as we speak. 1 tank will fall. The other's putting in a lot of work, but the SCVs do crumble one after the other, and there's just too much Zerg here. Too many reinforcements. soO just getting such a massive lead early on, and he cleans up the army of Future. GG gets called, and soO takes game number 2. GG. Aye, aye, aye. And yeah, soO was clearly very upset after that first game. He was so aggressive with his Lings, just at every turn, going for these counterattacks, going for these backstabs whenever he was aware that Future was, you know, elsewhere with his Hellions. And yeah, with that follow-up Roach push as well, things just got a little bit out of hand, out of control. As soon as that third base was cancelled, Future, he was just forced into a really awkward position. He had to go all in. There was no way to macro from that point, especially against a player like soO. You had to just send it. And yeah, with that, we have an ace match. We're going all the way to game number 3. Let's go. Let us go. Meanwhile, as we get into the ace match, I believe the lower semifinals is already underway. Yes, we have confirmation. Shout out to Percival for taking down Cyan 2-0. And Percival is in the middle of a TVT against Special, vying for that final spot. So best of luck to both Percival and Special as they are currently mid-series. Meanwhile, we are as well. So we're getting into game number 3, and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Dragon Scales, we have the American Terran player living in the land of Korea, apparently. He just arrived 3 days ago, and hopefully he is well accommodated over in the land of Korea. Representing Maturino Esports, it is Future. Spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing the Kwangdong Freaks. It is soO. And soO going for a hatch first. My oh my. Hello there. Oh boy. So a hatch first is usually relatively safe thing to do. I mean, I say that we should be making a couple of links to send that across the map to try and disrupt the economy of Future and try and, you know, delay that natural base. From here, we can also go for a fast roach timing as well. I'm very curious to see how this does unfold for soO and how aggressive he gets with this. You don't have to be hyper aggressive. Like, I guess I can always refer to Miyamaika, for example. More often than not, Miyamaika, he goes for a pool first just for queens, and he just drones up from there. But my god, we are investing into 6 lings. soO wants to get damage done. Yep, and there's that Roach Warren. Let's go, Papi, let's go. So it is a pool hatch gas opener here from soO. These lings are ideally going to be looking to bypass the Reaper, and ideally keep the Reaper back at home so the Reaper is not able to scout and get a confirmation of this Roach Warren. That's going to be the goal here for these lings. To keep Future in the dark. The longer he's in the dark, the higher chances these roaches have of doing damage. Meanwhile, Future, he didn't go for an SCV scout. Feels bad, man. No SCV scout. He's sending his first Reaper across the map. He gets eyes on the delayed hatchery, and from here, the lings do reveal themselves as well. This SCV is going to be going down. Thankfully, the Reaper doesn't go into the main. Doesn't get eyes on the tech. Boys are being pulled. Marine has arrived, but with 6 lings, we can fight this. We can go for this. He wants to surround 1 Marine. Oh, actually, yeah, 1 Marine's going to be going down. 2nd Marine as well. Every single SCV that was pulled. Can we get another delay on the CC? It looks like we will. Behind this, roaches are on the way. The Reaper across the map was killed. Future has 0 units right now. 1 Marine does pop out. He's got a bunker on the way on the high ground. Future is fully aware that he cannot defend the low ground right now. He has to defend his main. So roaches are on the way. Now, this is only a 4 roach push, so soO isn't going all in. He is droning up behind this, and the goal here for soO is just to contain Future to 1 base. Keep him on a 1 base economy. Trade with these Marines if possible. Kill SCVs if possible. Oh. As the Overlord is being repositioned to grant soO high ground vision, and now the depots are under threat as well. The Cyclone does pop out. We do get a lock-on on the Overlord as well. Oh, but the Overlord does break the lock-on. Depot does fall. And again, soO is going to be backing off and again just looking to contain Future and maybe even dive on top of this Cyclone if possible. Behind this, we're just happily droning, got link speed on the way, continued gas mining. We should soon be seeing our 3rd base being taken for soO as well. Again, this opener from soO just really did throw a wrench in the works, delayed the base, the natural base here from Future, delayed any kind of mining at all as well. And that's the 2nd factory. Ay, ay, ay. Once again, we're going to be getting into mech. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go. Now, seeing the Cyclone isn't the biggest of tells. The 2nd Cyclone is hidden, is kept in the back line, so soO is in the dark. The 1st Cyclone was made to defend against the roaches, so again, it isn't suspect whatsoever. And dark? Sorry, soO. And soO is currently unaware as what is going on. I mean, he's already got Roach Tech, so he's going to be committing into Ling Roach Ravager for the time being against this army. But still hasn't really caught on as to what is going on. Ling does confirm a second Cyclone at least. We does see that. We are just looking to saturate our bases. Now with all this gas, we can tech in towards our lair if need be. soO did make a massive wave of Lings, so he's still looking to be quite aggressive here. He could even try and catch at these Cyclones, as the Mass Cyclone has been revealed, and now soO is fully aware of the mech. Mac Peel Accelerator is about to kick in. Lair on the horizon. soO just droning heavily behind this. He does have a pretty threatening force out on the map, but this is just for map control. He doesn't really intend to overcommit and go for any kind of all-in to break the natural or even break the third. Just posturing instead. Now, we were able to see Future do so much damage and snowball into a victory in game 1 off of a Hellion Cyclone timing. But if you remember, that was also a timing that was unscouted. That was also something that really did catch soO off guard. He wasn't quite ready for it when it did hit, and it was able to do a lot of damage as a result. Here in this game, I don't think that Future is going to find as much success when it comes to how much damage his first move out can do. I do think that soO has a lot more foresight. He's going to be able to prepare ahead of time, saturate his bases, and interestingly enough, soO is rushing into that infestation pit, which means he's going to have access to infestors much faster. Infestors and fungals as soon as possible to help shut down these Cyclones is going to work wonders for soO. We'll see if he can get there. Boy. So we do see Rocks being knocked down here over towards that third base location, just kind of preparing everything here for the incoming assault from his opponent. There we go, Infestors are on the way. There is no Pathogen Glands. Oh, one Ravager does go down for free. Not the best start for soO. We only had 4 to begin with. As Future is diving pretty far onto creep, but maybe overextending a little bit here, as well, a couple of these Hellions are going to be going down. The Cyclones will survive, but we lose a lot of the buffer. Yeah, and already we're getting into tank production. So it looks like Future has recognized that he's going to have a really hard time getting too much damage at all with this army. So he's already looking to get into a more turtle composition. Still going to be active with these Cyclones, but he's not going to be as adventurous as we've seen before. Oh, as I say that, solid lock-ons. A good chunk of roaches do go down. But the Infestors have been revealed. Future is going to respect that, is going to back off. Hive on the horizon, Spire as well. Unlike game 1, soO has been able to drone up pretty happily, and he's already up to 72 workers. At this point, he was still struggling to reach 60. soO has had a much more kind of secure game overall. We should be seeing a 5th base taken momentarily, or even a macro hatchery. I'm curious if we are going to go Muta. There are a lot of Cyclones, so Mutas can be a difficult thing to get into, but there's a lot of potential with them, of course. Definitely a lot of potential, as he is just rushing straight into it. Okay. I was curious if this was the plan. Initially, I was like, yo, is he going to rush into Broodlords? And in my brain, I was like, no shot. Like, there's no way. That'd be crazy. He's crazy. He's just going straight for it. The confidence that soO has right now. And I'm sure a lot of that confidence comes from his creep spread as well. This game, his creep has exceeded the halfway mark. You know, he has a decent ground army as well. With these Infestors, he can lock down any kind of aggressive push, and any kind of slow push, he's going to have plenty of time to react as well. So yeah, soO just taking advantage of how passive Future has been this game. And now we do have those 10 Corruptors already out. The Greater Spire about to finish up in a couple of seconds. We can morph them straight into Broodlords. We have left up some free supply for this moment. And there is no good answer to the Broodlords right now. Cyclones, they shoot up, but they need to get pretty close to get their lock-ons off. And if they do, we have Fungals. We have Infestors. Go Future, he is maxing out himself. He's going to try and push out across the map. At the same time, a bit of a link counterattack. He's going to be able to maybe get a tank. Not the best trades here, as we do have another Fungal on these Cyclones. Ooh. A good chunk of them go down, and here we go. The Broodlords are revealing themselves. Immediately, Future on Sieges, and he's getting the hell out of here. He's like, oh my god, I want none of this. The Broodlords will force him back, and they're going to give him time. We have Thors and Vikings on the way. Future has to distract this army. He has to buy time to make a more anti-Broodlord force. Brood Warrior. Oof. Yeah, so many tanks are going down here in the retreat. Such good value gotten here. Meanwhile, we have a tank run by towards the south. That's ambitious. Oh, as a couple of units are going to be going down for free here. Future is maybe losing too much too quickly. The tanks are being caught out. And it's not like the tanks are useless. We still need them. There's still a ground army. We can't just throw them away. As they are being thrown away. 5th base is being denied as we speak. Roach Ravager pushing in towards the 3rd. Oh, and Future, he just can't really keep up with the army with the tech of soO. I miss it Solar. I'm tired, Papi. I'm tired. As the mineral lines are under threat, so the 4th base is going to be going down to the Broodlords. The 3rd base under threat by the Roach Ravager as well. The Thors are doing what they can, but Thors on their own against Roach Ravager is just not ideal. Again, Future did such a great job here making it to the semis and even forcing the ace match out of soO as well. But soO was able to acclimate to his opponent. Recognize the strengths and weaknesses of this style of play. GG gets called and soO takes the series 2-1. That's the wrong button. There we go. GG, well played. Such an aggressive start out of soO, just again taking so much momentum away from Future when attempting to go into the Cyclone style. And yeah, soO just had so much more map control, so much more freedom this game. And we saw after Future was initially forced back, initially pushed away, soO was free to tech up so heavily, take 4 or 5 bases, drone up to 80, and rush into that hive. Really well done there by soO. He knew what his win condition was. He just had to survive until Broodlords, and yeah, he was able to pull that off very well for himself. Future, in a panic, was trying to muster up an anti-Broodlord army, and you know, we had those Thors on the way, we had the Vikings as well, but he was also losing far too many tanks at once. And with the death of all those tanks, it's not just about the Broodlords anymore. Suddenly it's about the ground army or from the Zerg as well. Suddenly, you know, everything's terrifying. GG. GG, well played. And we have our first finalist. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go. soO advances on to the grand finals where he's going to be facing off against the winner of Special versus Percival. As both Special and Percival are currently duking it out in the lower semifinals. Do I know what the score is? No idea. I don't know. Oh god, they're just mid-series, and I believe they are being casted by Dave Testa, if I'm not mistaken. So, gonna be quickly checking out his stream. And oh, they are in game 2, so potentially the final game. Just as an update, Special is leading the series 1-0 against Percival, and he's not in a he's actually in a leading position as well in game 2. So if Special takes it 2-0, he will advance on to the grand finals as well to face off against soO. Best of luck to Percival, though. I hope he's able to fight back, and I hope they're able to have a series and go all the way to the ace match. My hope, anyway. My hope. Until then, oh boy, we are going to be going on a short break once again. Oh god, after DreamHack, I need to... I need to stretch, Poppy. I need to do some push-ups. I need to... Oh god. Get myself awake here for the grand finals. I need to get pumped, Poppy. I need to get pumped. So, we're going to be going on a short break. When we return, hopefully, we'll have the grand finals for you. See you soon. See you soon.